Report number 43, sponsoring here with Senate Bill 2001, entitled An Act Providing for a New Passport Law, repealing for the purpose RA 8239, otherwise known as the Philippine Passport Act of 1996. The right to travel is a constitutionally protected right under Article 3, Section 6, which shall not be impaired in the words of the Constitution, except in the interest of national security, public safety, or public health, as may be provided by law. Part of the liberty of which a civilian cannot be deprived, therefore, without due process of law, is this freedom of movement and travel, never to be limited unless there are clear, compelling grounds as mandated by the Constitution and prescribed by law. This constitutes part of the fundamental guarantees in our Constitution of equality of opportunity and the part of freedom of personal mobility. In truth, the matter of passports is one of deep and abiding personal importance to me, having been deprived of a Filipino passport for over 7 years. May such a fate not befall any other Filipino. Today, we have witnessed developments in machine-readable travel documents such as passports. When the Philippine Passport Act of 1996 was passed, the Philippines was still issuing hand-scripted passports upon which photos were manually affixed. In 2007, we upgraded for the first time to the machine-readable version. Then in 2009, the Philippines adopted the electronic biometric passports, or e-passports, machine-readable travel documents that have chips, electronic microchips embedded in them. With advancements in technology, there is a need to bring forth a new generation of passports. The new Philippine Passport Law will be the framework upon which we will build the future reiteration of the Philippine passports and contactless technologies. This will provide for a more simplified passport application process, improvements in the general public's access, at the same time maintaining the security and integrity of our Filipino passport. Further, these provisions harmonize with the recent laws already passed, particularly RA 10173, otherwise known as the Data Privacy Act, the RA 11055, the Philippine ID System or PhilSys Act, RA 11767, or the Foundling Recognition and Protection Act, and RA 11641, or the Department of Migrant Workers Act. Herewith, the concept of consular offices will be expanded to institutionalize the temporary off-site passport services, or TOPS, recently offered by the DFA all over the country. Senior citizens and migrant workers abroad will be allowed to renew their passports without needing to physically appear before the consular offices. The new law also empowers the DFA to modify the present requirement of personal appearance for first-time passport applicants whenever technologies become available. Currently, a Filipino traveling overseas who lost his passport will have to apply for a travel document or certificate at the nearest Philippine Embassy or Consulate General to expedite his return to the Philippines. In this instance, Filipino travelers go through a lot of inconvenience and incur greater costs. The new Philippine Passport Act now provides for the issuance of emergency passports by our Foreign Service Post to these traveling Filipinos to ensure that they can continue their intended overseas travel prior to their return to the Philippines or their resident overseas. The issuance of diplomatic passports also will be extended to former Senate presidents, speakers of the House, associate justices of the Supreme Court, presiding justices of the Court of Appeals in the Sandigan Bayan, members of Congress, Secretary of the Senate, and the Secretary General of the House, as well as secretaries of all departments of the executive branch. A conventional travel document, meanwhile, may be issued to stateless persons who are likewise permanent residents of the Philippines and refugees who have been granted such status or asylum in the Philippines. The new law will also introduce a creation of passport databases and safeguards which will contain all current, if and, if available, previous passport and travel document records of Filipino citizens, including recognized alien residents. There shall also be established a watch list database containing information on persons whose passport applications have been denied or whose passports have been canceled altogether, as well as those who have committed or attempted to commit offenses under the Passport Act. Safeguards to these databases will be implemented in coordination with the Department of Information and Communications Technology, or the DICT. The law will also create a passport revolving fund sourced from more than 20% of the gross annual collection of fees from issuances and renewals of passport and travel documents for the improvement of passporting and consular services. Finally, the new law imposes penalties on offenses relating to the forgery of visas and entry documents and the illegal withholding of passports, penalizing DFA officers for unfair and discriminatory practices. I now therefore ask for the support of my colleagues in modernizing our passport law. Having been in exile, deprived of a passport for 7 unbearable years, my travails finally resulting in the landmark case of Marcos versus Manglapos, where Justice Padilla intoned that an individual must be protected against unexpected, irresponsible, or excessive encroachment on his right to travel by the state. With this new law, perhaps no future citizen will ever have to endure deprivation, injustice, or indeed inconvenience in their right to a Filipino passport. With this new bill as the basis of the new Philippine Passport Act, I am confident we can further curb discriminatory practices, usher in a new generation of passports, and be at par with the international standards of passporting. Thank you, Mr. President and honored colleagues.
Majority Leader